Conan's not here, so you need to keep us online. So,
sorry.
Listen to and viewed from over 95 countries from around the world. This is the Gridcast, and I'm your host, Danny Cox, and with me is my co-host. He's a box owner and wait a minute. You don't look like Conan.
Nope.
He is Tyler. I'm not Conan McQueen.
Yep. Conan is in the Dominican right now, so I'm going to stand in for him. And you're welcome for finally having some eye candy on the show.
So, wait a minute. So he decided to go sip on some Mai Tais in Dominican.
Yes.
I thought you were going to be Conan, like you squished this way and went tall that way.
No. Well, I mean, that might work. I don't know. We can try it when he gets back.
So we were going to have someone else that was going to be British on the other side of here, but then we're like, no one's going to really be able to understand what she says.
Yeah.
Oh, you're such a jammy bag.
Jammy Bird? Is that like Angry Birds? Is that an app?
Busted.
Was someone from Game of Thrones on here? You know what? I'm going to turn off her mic. Sorry.
And done.
Oh, and not done. Why isn't it turning on? Oh, you know what? I'm just going to turn her all the way down.
Yep, that works
There
too.
we go. All right, so we're going to give a little update on what's going on the amateur grid leagues real quick. So the MAGL season is going to start their rec leagues, and I think that's the only one around the area that has officially announced that they will be doing a rec league.
Yep.
But that will be in January of 2016.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. I wonder who the commissioner is going to be.
I don't know. I've heard he's a pretty attractive man.
I like this guy. Hey. Yeah, so that's going to be in January. The NEGL is going to have a shortened season because they're going to try to get out of the way of the CrossFit Open. So get everything done in January, starting January 10th.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
The NEGL is going to have 4 matches beginning January 10th. And the SAGL said early 2016. I've heard some rumblings. It's probably going to be doing the same thing as the NEGL, probably going to start in January.
And then haven't heard anything from Florida or
Western Amateur Good League.
California, but...
Yeah, or NorCal.
Well...
They're just kind of laid back, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hanging out on the beach too much.
Like Conan.
I mean, I'm a little jealous, but yeah.
Like Conan. Sitting on the beach. I know he's smoking a couple cigars.
Yeah.
Brugal. I know Brugal would be fantastic.
Yeah, I saw a couple pictures he put up today, and I'm definitely jealous.
And I unfriended him.
So did I. So did I. It's okay.
I'll friend him when he gets back.
Yeah.
But there's just no point in friending him.
Well, maybe when his tan goes away.
He's not my friend anymore.
I'll do it then.
Yeah. His tan goes away. Does he get tan?
I don't know.
I think he just burns.
Maybe. All right. I don't know.
I have something really bad to say, but I can't really say it. I can't really say it because I don't want him to love you, Conan. Love you, Conan. That's just smooches to you, okay? So later on the show, actually right after this segment, we have Allison Scuds from the Baltimore Anthem.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Did she do – I remember we saw her at the combine back in – when was that?
Which one?
May, like the big combine.
Yeah. May, June. Man,
she did the backflip and then did the little cheerleader celebration.
Oh, she did. That's
Did she pull that out in the interview at all?
No, unfortunately, she didn't. She was actually coaching at Peak 360 CrossFit down in Miami, Florida. So anyway, so without further ado, let's get on over to that interview.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, I'm really excited about our next guest. Welcome to Quadrant 3. She is a bodyweight specialist for the Baltimore Anthem. It's Alison Scuds. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Pretty excited about it. So, Baltimore didn't have the best season this first year. But you know what, though? Like, it's just the first year. And if you look at, like, Boston Iron, for instance, they went winless the first season, and then they almost beat DC in the playoffs, and just the second year. So it's really easy to turn things around. I always thought that Baltimore was actually a very powerful team, but just needed some experience first. So I'm excited to see what actually Baltimore can do next year. I think it's going to be a much different season. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think so too.
So how did you find this whole functional fitness crazy, this crazy sport? How'd you get into it?
So I found functional fitness, I guess through CrossFit first, about a little over 2 years ago. I had retired my career as a competitive cheerleader. I had done that for about 10 years and kind of had reached the pinnacle of that sport. And, it's just like any other childhood sport, kind of was ready to be done with it. I didn't hate it yet, but I saw a lot of my friends do it until they hated it, and I didn't want to be that person. So I just picked a good time, finished out my last season, and I decided to hang up the cheer shoes. And I had always been like in and out of the gym, doing a little bit of like strength training here and there. Obviously, with the cheerleading, it was very like physically demanding, so we did a lot of, I guess you could say, CrossFit style training then. But I hadn't ever really heard of CrossFit even. And then
what role did you have as a cheerleader?
So I was a flyer, and well, that was like one of my parts, but in competitive cheerleading, there's like a lot of parts. So there's actually no cheering at all in the stuff that I did. So there's like dancing, tumbling, stunting, and just kind of like, it's like a whole like performance that's packaged up in this like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then depending on what your division, you have a certain amount of guys and girls on the team, and then you go and compete against other teams that are in your same division.
Is this the kind of stuff that you would see on TV that took place at like Walt Disney World Championships, stuff like that?
Yes, yeah. The World Championships is like the biggest. It's like the CrossFit Games of cheerleading.
That's awesome. Right next door to our gym is a huge gymnastics place. They have enormous competitions.
Maryland Twisters?
No. We're in Virginia, in
Virginia.
Ashburn, Virginia.
Which gym is it?
Oh, I knew you'd ask me that. And right now, all of a sudden, I can't remember. I think it's Apex. I think is what it's called.
Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
But yeah, it's an enormous gym, 14,000 square feet, all dedicated to cheerleading. Our gym is also 14,000 square feet, but CrossFit and Grid. But anyway, so I know that it's an extremely demanding sport to do cheerleading, especially at the level that you are at, the World Championship level. Did you have to do any kind of weight training involved with that, or what kind of exercises do you have to do?
So I did do weight training in addition to it, but it wasn't required, especially for a flyer. Like you obviously have to be strong and like your body weight movements, but the lighter you are, the better, because you're being held up by guys and girls, and so the lighter you are, the better. However, I still did some weight training for that, but my cheerleading coach here in Miami, I moved down from Ohio to Miami just to be on this team called Top Gun All Stars. There's like one of the best teams in the world. And he is like really into like the whole like bringing other types of fitness into kind of the cheerleading world to subsidize that. So kind of like sports specific training, I guess you could say. So I was really doing CrossFit before I knew I was doing CrossFit. We would do like box jumps and burpee backflips and stuff like that all before I had heard of CrossFit. So we did a lot of like high intensity interval training because that's what simulated our routines. They're only 2 minutes long, and you have short bouts of like a quick tumbling pass, and then you get 10 seconds to rest, and then you're up in a stunt, and you have to be really tight and like breathing really hard and then rest. And so it was stimulating what our routine would be, like very short, very high intensity.
Yeah, it almost sounds like circuit training to an extent.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Yeah, I think that's great. So then, all right. So then you were a competitive cheerleader, did all that, and then you went into school, and you got a degree, from what I read, in biomedical engineering.
That is correct.
Can you refresh my memory what that entails?
So I like to tell people that when they ask me about it, it's the degree where you know a little bit about a lot of different things. So obviously it's biomedical, so there's a lot of biology and a lot of anatomy, things that relate to the body, but it's also an engineering degree. So there's a lot of other sciences like physics, a lot of mathematics. Like I took a math course every single semester. And then kind of bringing it all together with the biomedical engineering part, there's many different fields that you can go into. It's kind of a blessing and a curse in that way because, you know, you have so many options, but it's also like if you don't know what you want to do, then it's hard to make a decision kind of. But just a couple examples that you can go into are like prosthetics, medical imaging, medical devices, basically any type of piece of equipment that you would find at a hospital. And then my concentration was tissues and biomaterials. So tissues as in like bodily parts, like skin, fabrication, and just different, like all of like biologics parts like that. There's endless amounts of fields that you can go into in addition to doing research in all those fields and going to med school.
So you really studied human movement to a science. Is that right?
Not necessarily human movement. I did take a biomechanics class, but it was heavily math-based, so less on movement, more on just kind of like the mathematical and like science side.
Do you think that any of that education helps you understand the physics around CrossFit and functional movement and also efficiency?
I guess a little bit. I mean, especially like I think anyone knowing the basics of physics and biomechanics can get that. You don't necessarily need a biomedical engineering degree.
Right, of course.
But yeah, I think some of those basic courses I guess did with just knowing how forces work and things like that.
Okay, so how did you find? Okay, so you saw Wadapalooza and you saw CrossFit, and I understand that you barely missed regionals, right? Just by like 2 places.
Yeah. Well, a couple more than 2, but
okay.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, 2013, Wadapalooza. I got a new job at the university as a resident assistant, and I met a person there that I became really fast friends with, Dylan Militsky, if you know him. We were working together, and we became fast friends. And he was like, "Oh, I'm emceeing this competition that my gym holds every year. You should come check it out. Like, have you ever heard of CrossFit? I think you'd be really good at it." Because I was kind of in this awkward, like, I'm done cheerleading, but I've been competing all my life, and I don't know why I'm going to the gym anymore. I'm just like doing it because I didn't want to get fat, you know. And
right.
So I was like, okay, I'll go to Wadapalooza, and I went, and it's an incredible competition if you've never been. Even 2 years ago, it's gotten much bigger since then. But I remember specifically seeing Telena Fortunato like crushing it on this one event. And hey, here he is. I was just talking about him.
Oh,
Yeah,
hello.
Dylan Militsky.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Talking about
Dylan.
when I first got into CrossFit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Speak of the devil. So yeah, I just remember like standing there at Wadapalooza and watching Telena like crush this one event. I think she was doing like bar muscle ups or something. Just looked like a spider monkey, you know how they call her that. And I was like, I have to do that. Like, it was decided right then. It was like love at first sight. I hadn't even gone into the gym yet, like to do a workout. I was just like, that's what I'm doing. And then from there, I hit a couple workouts at Peak 360 with Dylan, and then I was like, all right, I'm all in. Like, I'm ready. Like, I knew from the beginning that I wanted to compete because that was kind of just my personality and the way that my life worked already. Like, I had a goal, I worked for it, and then I accomplished it.
So I know that the article that I read, I did a little bit of research about you, talked about how that you didn't have as much dedicated time because of schooling and stuff.
Right.
For CrossFit, but now that you do have the dedicated time and you only missed a few spots to go to regionals, that you really think you could be pretty darn successful at the games, which I would tend to agree. How has your training changed between before and now?
Yeah, so my training has changed very drastically. The first year and a half, I guess, that I was in CrossFit, I was coming in like 4 times a week, just basically doing the classes. Sometimes I would stay and do a little bit of extra work, but I was in school full time, so I never had a semester that was less than 19 credits. Plus, I worked 3 different jobs at the same time.
Holy crap!
So it's busy, to say the least. And I was also, involved in a bunch of orgs on campus and things like that. So, but I always just kind of made time for my training. That's why I kind of laugh when people are like, "Oh, my life's too busy to work out." I'm like, you kind of get times that you want to do. So, to say the least, my training was kind of like whatever I could get in. Some days it was 2 hours. Some days it was 30 minutes. Like, just hit the class and like leave before it was even over. Since then, I graduated in May, and like you said, I've been basically dedicating my life to training, eating. And I mean, obviously, that training involves more than just being in the gym, eating, sleeping, recovering, just trying other types of fitness, outside of the CrossFit gym, running, swimming, things like that. And my days... this summer I had a lot of the training camps for the grid and our matches and stuff, so that was like a little bit, my schedule was a little bit everywhere, but since then I've been back and I've been very consistent, and every day it doesn't feel like you're really doing that much. You always, I hear a lot of the top athletes say this, like, oh, you always feel like you could do more, but it's about the compound effect of like, okay, I was in the gym like 5 or 6 days a week and I hit it as hard as I could those days, recovered as much as I needed to. And it's all about the compound effect and layering on those different days of training.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell a difference in myself. Like, just a few weeks ago, and for about a year or so, I was coming in maybe, I don't know, 4 days a week. I was letting a lot of things take priority, which I tried to change up my mindset just a couple weeks ago. Now I've been doing a lot of 2-a-days and stuff like that, in the gym. And I can just tell a huge difference in just myself. And that's just a little bump compared to the big bump that you have. So can you tell a huge difference in your performance?
1,000%, yes. Somebody, one of my good friends, he kind of helps. He's like my manager, Bijan Harabi. He was talking to someone about me the other day, and they were like, "Oh, like, you've been working really hard, blah blah. Like, you did great. Basically, the same thing you said. You did great at the Open last year. Almost made it to regionals." And he stepped in. He was like, "Yeah, she would kick her own ass already this time last year." So it was it's kind of funny, but like at the same time, like really opened my eyes. It's like, the one thing that has definitely improved the most is my strength. Just being able to have that extra hour just to focus on strength and Olympic lifting, and really, I'm a smaller person, I guess, compared to some of the other games athletes. So as much strength as I can get in is better, and my strength numbers have gone up through the roof in the past couple months.
That's great. That's great. That's exactly what you need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you tell? So let's switch tracks a little bit here, and we're going to talk about Baltimore Anthem and this past year and about lessons learned. We've been trying to get a couple Baltimore Anthem athletes on the show recently because we really do think there's going to be a big difference between last year and this year. So we want to kind of talk to you guys about what do you think lessons learned were from the season and what Baltimore Anthem can do to change moving forward. So what do you think the biggest lessons learned were this year?
I think that the biggest lesson learned was anything can happen out on the grid. So, no matter if you have a plan or even if you have a backup plan, 3 things can go wrong in one race that can just kind of throw that plan up in the air. So I think, kind of like you were saying, just being more prepared and more time working together and knowing each other as athletes and knowing our capacities, that we'll be able to kind of cut out those mistakes more than we did this year, because I think that's what really hurt us. I don't think that athletically the people on our team were any like slower or weaker than the other teams. I think it was just about we made a few too many mistakes, and that cost us races and then all in all the match.
Yeah, so what was the biggest surprising thing from this season?
Surprising,
because I know some people, for instance, so I talked to Whitney Glenn, right, on the Boston Iron, and she had been a part of the SAGL before she actually went into the NPGL, so she had a little bit of experience, but just in the amateur leagues. But she said the speed of grid was a lot different. Like, she just kind of expected it to be almost like a CrossFit thing when she went into it, but the speed of grid is way, 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 way faster when you put a start and a finish line, into it. And then it also takes a little bit of a toll on the body in a different way than what CrossFit does. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So the speed obviously is unlike any other, when I think I was doing the pro day, I don't even remember who it was. Like, I think it was one of the scouts or one of the coaches. They were like, when you think you're going fast, go faster. And so that kind of always stuck with me, because it's like, you might feel like you're going fast, but you can always just like go a little bit faster. And like, that's going to be the difference between the race. So, obviously minimizing mistakes is a huge thing, because if you're, for say, in a CrossFit workout, it's completely different. But if you make like a small mistake, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it will cost you a second or so. You can kind of make up for it later down the road. But in the races, it's, that 1 second, it will cost you a race. So minimizing mistakes, and then also the toll on the body. This season, I only played in the one match, and that was only for one race. So and I only did one movement, so I can't really say what it feels like to go an entire match or half a match. But I definitely did see some great athletes that, they started off really strong and then they just didn't have anything left in the tank because they're not used to that type of training. So I think that was one thing that all of us are going to be working on too, is just knowing our capabilities also, and knowing our capabilities when we're halfway through a match.
Yeah, I can really see you being utilized much differently next season. Part of what I noticed and what we noticed as analysts looking at the Baltimore Anthem was that always in the first half of the match, you guys were running on all cylinders, and it was you could pretty much beat anybody that was out on the floor. It was the last half of the match where things started to die down, and I think utilizing more players would have helped. And utilizing the bench a little bit better, at least from an analyst standpoint, and utilizing people like you. So, like for instance, like in a Jack and Jill, so that Alex can relax a little bit more until he has to hit on the triads,
right.
Stuff like that. But I think
also,
that's all.
If you don't mind, I think one thing that would really help that, I'm not sure, I haven't heard any updates, but I know it was really difficult this year with the substitutions. They only allowed 2 substitutions, so it gets really tricky when you're kind of behind the scenes, working out the kinks of the race, because you have the triads, which usually have some sort of skill in them, which could have been utilized a lot more. However, then there's the other races towards the end that are much heavier, cycling close to my 1 rep max. So it was just really difficult for our team to kind of figure out how to utilize the substitutes the best when you had the high skill, but then also the heavyweight kind of layered on. So you kind of had to make some sacrifices here and there, keeping your utilities players in because there's so few substitutions. I would like to see the sport to maybe not unlimited substitutions, but more substitutions so teams can give their players a rest and they can be fresh and hit those high skills and heavyweights with their fresh players.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. I think it'll be more fun to watch on TV. You also get to see faster competition. I think I agree with you. And I don't know what changes are coming. I mean, it's a brand new sport still. I mean, it's only its second year. So everyone's still in the learning process of all that.
Yeah.
But I know that they're very open to looking at changes like that because at least the upper management that we've talked to has been pretty open to it so far. So, I think the next season's going to be a lot faster and a lot more fun. And I think more people will be utilized. And, pretty excited about it. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate you taking your time out to hang out with us for a little bit. And good luck training for CrossFit. I know you're training now for the Open and for the games.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. And
great.
And so we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
We love to lift, laugh, and improve. This is Björk Odinsdatter.
Thanks a bunch, Allison, for joining us on the show. That was an awesome interview, and thanks for taking time out of your day to meet up with us.
Yeah, and even though Conan's here, and I knew I was going to try to remember to do this at the beginning, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, our YouTube and iTunes. Am I missing any?
I don't know. It sounds good.
There's so many of them now.
I know, yeah.
I don't even know.
All right, and also, the amateur leagues and the rec leagues are starting up real soon. Check out your area's closest grid teams because definitely ramping up to that season in January for you to be able to participate in it. So until next time, guys, clean up your jerks and snatches, drink your beer in batches, and always dominate your good matches. See you guys.